Dr. Davidson, hello. It is a pleasure to meet you in Palmyra Business Club. The first question. You are considered to be one of the founders of emotional neuroscience. What does it study?
Emotional neuroscience or affective neuroscience studies the brain mechanisms that underlie our emotions, and it seeks to understand the neural correlates of emotion and why some people are more resilient and other people are more vulnerable, and also to gain insight into how we can help people to cultivate increased resilience and increased well-being.
Why did you decide to connect your life with science and especially with neurobiology?
I have always been interested from very early on in the mind, and knew that my life would be concerned with the mind because I had the conviction that our minds are really the key to living harmoniously, to living in peace, and increased understanding of the mind would help promote these qualities. And in the culture today, in the modern era, one way of studying the mind is through the study of the brain. And so that is really why I became a neuroscientist.
Many people are sure that it is almost impossible to manage it, and we are all kind of its hostages. Do you agree with this?
No, I don't. I think that we actually can have much more control over our minds and our brains by engaging in very simple kinds of what we can think of as mental exercises. Many of these come from the contemplative or meditation traditions, where we can learn very simple strategies to cultivate positive qualities of the mind, which we and our colleagues have found can change the brain in ways that can promote well-being.
Your books produce a real sensation all over the world. Why do you think?
I'm happy that people find them of value. I think that what we're talking about in these books is something very basic to the human condition. Every human being experiences emotion. Every human being has the wish to be happy and to be free of suffering. And every human being is touched by these issues when I think we're honest with ourselves. And so I think whatever popularity it may have is not because of me, but rather is because there is an intrinsic desire to be happy and to be free of suffering. And I think when people look at their own minds, they can recognize this.
Can you tell us about your meeting with Dalai Lama? How did it affect your life?
Well, I have met him for the first time in 1992. I see him very regularly, many times a year now. I just saw him a couple of weeks ago in the U.S., and will be with him in another couple of weeks in Africa. He has deeply affected my life in so many different ways. Mostly, he has inspired me to pursue the kind of work that we're doing. He challenged me in the early years to use the tools of modern neuroscience to investigate positive human qualities like compassion and kindness. And that was an important catalyst for launching the research that we and others are now doing.
What role does meditation play in your life?
Meditation plays a very important role, both personally and professionally. I meditate every day, and I would have, I think, a great deal of difficulty in my life if I didn't meditate, because I lead a very active life. I travel a lot. From one perspective, some may consider my life to be very stressful. But having the meditation practice helps me enormously, and it also helps me to recognize that these efforts are really for the welfare of others, to help to promote the value of these practices so that others might enjoy their benefits. So it's very deeply meaningful to me, and really the reason why I do the work I do.
Could you give maybe some simple tips how to manage your emotions and train the brain?
Well, the simple tips I would give are tips that really come from simple secular meditation practices that have been investigated scientifically. So we can calm our minds quite simply by using our awareness. All of us are endowed with a basic quality of awareness, and we can recognize this quality of awareness by becoming aware of our bodies, becoming aware of our breathing. If we're living, we're breathing. And this is something very simple. We don't need any special instruments or equipment. All we need is our own mind. And by simply becoming aware, knowing that we're breathing, we can actually produce some calm and equanimity. And this can help us in difficult situations. And so if we are in a difficult situation, we can bring our awareness to our breathing, to our body, and through that method, we can help settle the mind.
Thank you very much. What do you think? Can this method help people of some professions to do better their work?
We think that these methods may be helpful to individuals in particular professions. We have been studying the impact of these methods with teachers. We also have done some work with healthcare providers. In addition, we're doing some research now in the U.S. with police officers. And in the U.S., there's a big problem with police who may react with a lot of fear, and it may not be the most skillful way to react. And there's been a lot of problems because of that. And if we can help these individuals to decrease their stress and to see the world a little bit more clearly, maybe it can produce some benefit. So there's a lot of areas where this work can be, I think, usefully disseminated, and certainly different occupations can benefit, we think, from these methods.
And what do you think about the hospitality industry? Should maybe hotels implement your methods to train the personnel?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question. I'm sure you're familiar with the brand Hyatt hotels. Well, we're working now with the CEO, global CEO of Hyatt, and we are disseminating these tools in the hospitality industry with Hyatt. And they are deeply interested in this, and one of the things that they recognize is that the ability to show up for work and be fully present, fully aware of their clients, to respond to them with empathy and with kindness is really a key to both their employees' well-being, but also to the success of the business.
And the last question, can knowledge of neuroscience help a person reach real happiness?
I think that the knowledge of neuroscience can help to cultivate interest in a person, for them to recognize the value of these practices. However, reading about neuroscience in and of itself is not going to make a person happier. You can't read a book and have that make you happier, just as you couldn't read a book to learn how to play the violin or to learn how to ride a bicycle. You need to practice. And similarly with happiness, you can practice, and that will be very helpful, but simply knowing about the neuroscience may bring you to the point of wanting to practice, but then you actually have to practice.